Hello and welcome to another episode of Nerd Age. This is the show where we talk about everything nerdy. My name is Mick, and with me as always are my co-hosts, Josh.
What's up?
Corey.
Yo.
And Jonah. Whoopsh. Whoopsh. Indeed. Welcome to the show, guys. If you like what you see here, please consider liking the video, subscribing to our YouTube channel, and sharing it with all your nerdy friends out there so we can grow this fun community that we're doing. With that being said, we're going to jump into some Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny talk. You know how it goes. We're going to do some non-spoiler, give our rating, and then we're going to spoil the whips out of it.
Nice.
So
Spoil the whips out of the whip.
Corey has not seen it, but I don't think he cares that much. So
Do not.
the three of us have seen it. So we're going to just jump right in.
Yeah, it would. So I think we can all agree it's better than Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
Not that hard.
Pretty low bar.
So it's better than that, but it's not as good as the original three. I think it's a fine movie. I think Harrison Ford does a good job. I think there's some emotional aspects that work really well, actually. The action, I felt kind of after a while, it's like, okay, like there's a car scene chase in there that goes on a little too long.
Did you take it seriously? Was there a wackiness level to it?
So here's my pet peeve with car chase scenes is I've seen them all, and then they seem to kind of do the same trope where the characters are like going after this guy and they're arguing as they're doing the chase, and after a while it's just like, okay, like
I'd like them to agree.
Like no, it's just like,
Why do they have to fight all the
Hey,
time?
let's take a right. Oh,
no,
good
but
idea.
it's like it's the banter that you see. It's done a million times, and it's like just focus on catching the guy instead of being like, "Why did you do that?" And they're like, "Well, I told you this," and it's like, "Well, I should have," and you know,
It's like what people say when they listen to our podcast. They're like, "Oh my gosh, they're
Exactly.
I've heard this a million times.
Yeah.
that's exactly how I feel. So it's just that kind of stuff that I just felt was a little all over the place.
Okay.
There are things that I really liked about it, and then other things. It felt like I kept going and being like, oh, I like that. And then I'm like, I don't like that. Oh, I like that. Oh, I don't like that. So it was kind of a mixed bag of things. I think overall, I enjoyed it, but there's a lot of things that I was like, that could have been better. So it's kind of a mixed bag for me. I still enjoyed it. But yeah, it was just kind of when I left the theater, it was kind of that. Was that good? Was that bad? It's not terrible. It's not amazing. So it's kind of right in the middle there.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that was my takeaway too, was there wasn't anything that like boosted it up to like that was amazing level. It had elements of like pretty cool stuff, but there wasn't anything bad necessarily either. So it was just very like middle of the road, you know. Some of the stuff could have been better.
Yeah.
But actually, I thought Harrison Ford, both young and old versions, he actually did pretty well as a 80-something-year-old guy. He still looks pretty good.
Yeah. And the opening of this movie,
Opening
think
was
the
probably
best part.
probably
Like,
the best part of the movie.
the first 15 to 20 minutes, I was like, okay,
Yeah.
this is going to be amazing. And then the opening's fantastic.
But yeah, I would say action.
Music?
I mean, the music was good, but I feel like, and maybe I'm just misremembering this, I feel like we didn't get enough of like just the Raiders March and like the B section, like the kind of old Indiana Jones themes.
Yeah,
like,
there's a
I
couple
feel
moments you get it, but it's not. They don't use it that much.
Yeah,
So you wanted more of that.
I definitely wanted more of that. They did bring back some like old Nazi themes from Last Crusade, which was pretty cool to hear again. So there are definitely elements of stuff that you are familiar with from the past movies. I don't think anything musically from Crystal Skull.
And they have some themes for certain characters. Not spoiling, but certain characters show up, and so they play the themes of those characters.
Luke's theme?
Yoda's theme.
Now we're
that kind of
talking.
stuff.
Chewbacca's theme.
But yeah, the music
piqued
didn't
my
hit
interest.
as much as it should have for me.
Not quite, yeah. But again, it wasn't like bad or anything.
Yeah.
It had the same theme as the rest of the movie, in my opinion. So yeah, I would say overall, like I'm not like fired up to go watch it again. Which I would say that's a negative because I tend to watch movies multiple times, especially when they're in theaters when I like them.
And you own a whip, so
I own a whip. I own a hat.
What do you think, Josh? As far as
I kind of agree with you guys. Yeah, the intro or the beginning 15-20 minutes is awesome. The de-aging stuff, because if you've seen the trailer, you know that it's a de-aged Harrison Ford, at least in the intro.
Yep.
It looks really good sometimes, and other times it looks like you can tell it's like, oh, this looks like rubbery face, the uncanny valley a little bit.
It's gonna happen.
But I was pretty impressed. There were certain shots where I was like, man, that's like they nailed the de-aging on that.
Well, and the voice too. Like it sounds like they must have used like the AI kind of
like they did with
stuff
Luke.
they do.
So you don't think it was him doing the lines and then just kind of up pitching it or changing it?
I think it's him doing the lines, but they put it through a machine that grabs other stuff.
Out of all the difficulties, that's the easier one.
Yeah.
For sure.
But yeah, overall, I mean, I think it was a good Indiana Jones movie. I think action-wise, I did get a little bit tired of all the chase scenes.
There's at least
Isn't that
4,
what Indiana Jones is, though? It's just a bunch of chase scenes.
But there's the other ones had other things mixed in. This was like primarily all the action scenes were chase scenes.
Yeah.
Except for stuff in the opening.
Okay.
And I think the one thing that I was missing more was more of the archaeology side of things.
Yeah.
Like once that started happening, I was like, oh, okay, cool. Like I'm really enjoying that part of it. And I just think it was missing. So I think if you take out some of the, I guess, extra fluff with the action scenes and kind of do some more of like the puzzle work that they're doing and the archaeology stuff, I think I would have enjoyed it better. And I think overall, like if this is Indiana Jones's send off, I think it just kind of missed the mark a little bit for me. Like there's some really good emotional moments that I thought were done really well, but it flirted with that line of like, this is amazing and really like heartfelt, and it like almost got there. I think if they could have got there with some of those moments or kind of driven the point home at the end, I think I would have liked this movie a lot more. But overall, it was just kind of like that was fun.
Okay.
We might as well just give our rating.
Give some ratings
and then
so
we
we
can
can
get into
move
some
on.
spoilers.
Yeah.
I'd go 7.2 whips.
Okay.
I'm going to go 7.5 fedoras.
I'm gonna go 6.9.
Okay. We're all kind of in the ballpark there.
I'd guess probably mid 6s based on your guys' review.
We're going to go into spoilers now, so you've been warned. If you're going to watch the movie, go watch it, come back, and see if you agree with us on what we thought here. So what you just said is it's kind of, I can see a version of this movie that I would absolutely love. And that's what's frustrating about this movie is there's moments that I'm like, that's great. If you could go a little more into that. So the biggest one, I think, or the first one that comes to my mind is the archaeology aspect of it. Mm-hmm. I feel like that was towards the end.
Right.
And it was kind of really simple, but I really like that stuff. I just wish there was more of that, like figuring out what's going on. It just kind of seemed like they didn't put a lot of thought into it, which in Raiders of the Lost Ark, you have that moment where he goes down and he figures out the sun coming in and tell him what, like, there's those moments where he's figuring it out. They didn't have that in this. They had one scene there towards the end where he's like, water disbursement, and they kind of do that, but that should have been throughout more of the movie because I thought that was the best stuff.
So did Moon Knight have more archaeology than
I think it probably did.
Well, it's a TV series. So.
And so that was a little disappointing to me. And the other thing is I felt like there were emotional moments that they, like you said, they flirted with. And I feel like they should have just gone full into that because those moments were good, but then they kind of cut back from that. I don't know if they were afraid to go deeper into those things, but you can really tell it with the girl. I can't remember what her name is. Wombat is what he calls her. But there was so much like contentiousness with them, but it never resolved into like, why is that happening? They kind of just kind of make a little like like little references to it, like, well, you abandoned me kind of thing. But I'm like, they never had a conversation about it.
They didn't have a resolution of that?
They do, but it kind of just comes out of nowhere. Like, there's not like a moment where you're
like at the very end?
Yeah, but there's not a moment where he apologizes or he makes it right for her to have this reaction. It's just kind of, she just has that reaction to be like, oh, I kind of like you now. So it was weird that kind of, I wish they would have gone in more into that and worked that relationship. So it was just interesting. What did you guys think of that dynamic? Because I know you guys didn't mind it as much. I thought that was probably the weakest moment. I think she's a great actress, but their relationship didn't really work for me.
Yeah, I think as far as indie companions go, again, it's like it was just middle of the road to me. Not bad, not great. But in terms of her character, like, I think there was enough there to have some interesting background stuff. Like, she's the daughter of, I guess, Indy's best friend that we've never met until this movie. That okay?
That's a weird choice. That's a weird choice.
I just want to say something about that. I feel like they missed out on like an easy layup of like connection back to the original trilogy. It would have been a little bit harder since
his daughter.
Yeah,
that's what I thought she was.
Since the actor's dad, but the actor that played Marcus Brody, that to me would have made more sense if she was his daughter.
Yeah.
That way we already have a built-in connection to who this is. Yes, we're still meeting her for the first time, but at least we have like, okay, we know Marcus.
Yeah.
It just makes it a little easier to swallow. So yeah, with that, it was okay. As far as her resolution goes, I actually think that she did have a good like character arc, because the whole movie she's really like a younger Indiana Jones, where she's just out for the fortune and glory type of aspect of why she's, on the journey of finding, I don't even remember what it's called, the
Dial of Destiny,
whatever it's called,
antithesis.
The dial. Yeah, why don't they just call it the Dial of Destiny?
I don't know.
Anyway,
wait, did they not ever call it that?
I don't think so.
That's
It's called the
hilarious.
antithesis or something like that.
Something. So she definitely resembled more of that version of Indy. But then she does, I think, come around in the end where she obviously cares about Indy, wanting him to not stay in the past.
Yeah,
But
time travel, bro.
time travel, yeah.
Your favorite thing.
Those are actually
They actually go back
It
in
was
the
time
past.
travel.
Nice.
So that's why it's called the Dial of Destiny, because it was their destiny to always go back in the past and leave them the dial.
Right.
That,
I hate
but
that
that's
paradox.
but
I
that's
hate that
outside
paradox,
of the
dude.
movie, so they never call it the Dial of Destiny because it has a name to it. But for us, we know that it was Indiana Jones' destiny to go in the past
and dial
it up.
and yes, that's why it's
Sure. But yeah, so yeah, I felt middle of the road with her.
I agree.
But yeah.
Another thing that they could have just used, Antonio Banderas, I thought their dynamic together was
Antonio
better.
Banderas is in the movie.
Nice.
Their dynamic was better. I was like, why didn't you
Does he
make the
do a
movie
different
Antonio
voice?
Banderas and him? No, he sounds like
He's
Puss in Boots.
Yeah.
Okay.
That would have been better to me. It's like, oh, you go on an adventure with Antonio Banderas. I thought their chemistry worked better, and that would have been.
Or crazy idea, bring back Short Round.
That's the other
That
thing.
is what this movie was.
Bring
Made.
back Shorty.
Didn't they though?
Nope.
No.
No,
What about
there's a kid in it that plays the Short Round character, but he's not bad.
No, he's actually good.
He's actually good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You should give
but
acting
it's like
lessons to
nothing.
the
It's
Black
no
Adam.
screen
No.
time.
Well, no, he's in it quite a bit.
Oh.
So it's her. He's friends with the girl. So he's with. So there's actually. He's probably half the movie is.
Yeah.
He's in there.
Oh wow.
But
at
we
least,
want
yeah.
the Short Round actor, the player, to come back. I just think it's a missed opportunity to be like have them reunite. You know?
No, I get it.
What do you think, Josh? As far as whatever you want to talk about, I don't care.
As far as all right, we're gonna talk about. I thought she was fine actually. I didn't have a problem with
Wombat?
her. Yeah, Helena or whatever her name is.
Yeah.
I didn't have a problem with her character. I thought she was a good. It could have been over the top and like annoying, like oh she's this way, but I thought it worked well and kind of balancing her and Harrison Ford out. Basically, I thought that was good. I guess I bought into the whole dynamic between them of like, oh, you know, her saying that, you know, you abandoned me, because we kind of see in that flashback that he takes the dial, his dad, you know, her dad's going crazy basically, and he's like,
I'll call you when I get. I'll
call you when I would assume that that didn't happen.
Yeah,
and that from that point on, it was kind of like, all right, I'm off doing my own thing. So I kind of bought into that. I didn't really have an issue, and I did like the coming full circle at the end with. I know you didn't like the moment, but her punching him was a good kind of full circle moment of what we've seen.
Yeah, she punches Indiana Jones.
Yeah,
to save him, and I didn't like it.
Yeah, nobody hits Indiana Jones.
No, I just think
especially not a female.
No, that's not it. I just think there are better. I think there are better ways to do. There are better ways to do it, and that just seemed like cheap.
I mean, the circumstance was
fair enough.
First of all, Indy.
It's okay to be specific on this. Yeah.
Indy got shot.
Okay,
and they're in the past.
They fly through a portal or something into the past.
The Romans are attacking the whatever they are
other
place. The Sicily, the Greeks. Yes.
It was a Sicily. I don't remember.
Yeah.
And basically, he's just like, you know, I'm probably going to be dead pretty soon. Just let me stay here. And she's like, no, you need to come back. You don't belong here. Blah blah blah.
We'll drag you over.
Yeah. And so him just being stubborn, she just ends up knocking him out and bringing him
against his will.
Yes, and here's the reason. It's not that female punched Indiana Jones, because whatever. But I feel like
Marion punches him.
There's an element of it would have worked better. We talked about this. We talked about this in The Flash a little bit. That it's like he doesn't learn his lesson. I feel like the whole movie, there's that aspect of you abandoned me. If she would have used that line to be like, I'm not gonna let you abandon me again, and he listens to that being like, yeah, like I'm not gonna do that. That would have worked better emotionally, where she uses that trigger word. You know,
she manipulates him.
No, but he understands the reality of it.
Like,
where
make
he's
it
like,
his choice.
Yes, where he says, "Okay, you're right." Like, and then or also bring up Marion. Like, if he's you can't abandon me and you can't abandon Marion. That would have, to me, worked better than her just punching him, it going black, and then they're back in present time. We're not going to show you how it happened. That to me felt a little just like cheap.
Sorry, so what did you want them to do instead?
I wanted, instead of her to just punch him, is to convince him to be like...
Using what?
Just the whole aspect of like the relationship they have. Like, when I was a little girl, you abandoned me. Like, you're not going to abandon me again. Because he's estranged from his wife.
Yeah.
Because they killed Shia LaBeouf. So he died.
Spoiler
and so
alert.
because of that, like, they're estranged. He's grieving because he lost his son. I think that would have worked. He already shares that moment with her where he says, like, if I could go back in time, I'd tell him, like, don't go to the war.
Moment. That was a great moment.
So I think if she mirrors that moment and says, don't go, right? Because he tells her exactly what he would tell his son. If she tells him that same thing, right? I think that clicks, and that works better than her just punching him and him being like, well, I woke up and I'm fine.
I think the key difference, though, is that he believes he's like an inch away from death.
Yeah.
I think if he didn't have that aspect, I think that would have worked a lot better. But if he's just like, I'm dead anyway,
but
just
he's
let
not
me
really
stay here.
saying that. What he's saying is, I can live here. He's like, I'll be here. This is what I wanted to see my whole life. I've lived this whole thing. So I just think that to me would have worked better emotionally than just punching him and then you wake up and you're like, oh, they're back.
Yeah, but I think, though, it also kind of, like, he's giving up on life, basically.
Yeah.
Because even in the next scene, you know, when they're back in present time, he's like, you know, what do I have to live for? Or who do I have to live for? And then that's when Marion comes back. And so they kind of bring that together with like, oh, you still have people to live for.
Yeah, but why not convince him of that in that moment with what we've seen? That to me is a better moment that you want to see on screen. In that moment where, like I said, he's already shared what he would have told his son to keep him alive. She can say those same words. that's something that I think would have been a powerful moment between those two, in a moment where, yeah, he's close to death and stubborn, but I think that would be the power of that scene, is that she's a great actress. I think she could have pulled it off, where she, for the first time in the movie, she actually breaks down, and the whole time she's like, you know, like she doesn't care. She pretends she doesn't care about Indy. In that moment where she would break down and plead for him to not give up, I think that would have been a better moment.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a little bit of that though, right? Like she still was basically like,
yeah, but not enough.
Like,
she's like, says that and then just punches him. So to me, it's like,
so it just wasn't enough of that for you.
Right. I would have rather her not do the punching and have that moment, the cathartic moment.
Yeah. Maybe it's more of a representation of how stubborn he is. That's just part of his character, maybe. And like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's probably their justification on that.
Well, I think what you're saying too, it's a callback to
Right.
past Indiana Jones movies. But I just think if this is going to be your last Indiana Jones movie, do you want a little character progression? Like, I feel like that would have been the moment to give him that. You're 80 years old now, like, and there's still hope with Marion, which we do get that scene at the end in the apartment, which is a great scene. But I was like, it would have landed better with that, I think, for me.
Yeah. No, it's a good point. I think it worked for me, but yeah, I think it is a missed opportunity to not call back to that, those comments he makes about Mutt and telling him, you know, oh, if I could go back in time, I'd tell him not to go, you know. That was a really like emotional moment, and like probably the most vulnerable Indiana Jones has ever been in any movie. Really. And to not like kind of wrap it up in the end, I think it's kind of a missed opportunity. So maybe, bringing that back is would have been a way to do that. So
Hashtag release the Jonah cut.
yeah, that's right.
Call me James Mangold.
Yeah.
Call you Man Silver over there.
I was just gonna say I really like Mads Mikkelsen as usual.
Say, yeah.
He's a great villain, and man, he's a great Nazi. What can I say? The man looks like a Nazi.
Well, and that's one of the biggest problems with Crystal Skull is they went away from
they brought
went
the
away
Russians
from
in.
Russians, and it was like, it's not the same.
Yeah.
So the fact that they had Nazis in this one, again, the opening scene, the first 20 minutes is like it felt like peak Indiana Jones. Like they're on a train chasing Nazis.
Date of when that was?
They said World War II.
I mean, they're saying it's like
towards the end of the end
right?
of World War II.
Yeah.
But yeah, to me that was like that felt even how it was shot, like the train chase, all that kind of stuff. Nazis in the rain, everything was just like, it's good.
I would have liked to have seen that scene though in daylight. I know that they probably did it.
Mick, I just said Nazis in the rain at night.
I like my Nazis in the sun. You know?
Jungle rain.
You could have rain in the day.
Yeah.
But I'm sure one of the reasons why they did that was just to help hide the de-aging
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
So I definitely get that, and it does look cool. But sometimes it's like I can't really see that well. Like,
well, they're making it dark on purpose.
Like, exactly.
Yeah, and like you think back to like the Last Crusade on the tank chase with him on the horse. Like it's so easy to see what's going on, and I get it though. It's
like the Flash in the Batcave. It's like keep shadows on the Flash because that guy's rubber.
Yeah.
But I thought he was a cool, like the whole idea of him wanting to go back in time to basically kill Hitler and take over was pretty interesting.
Mads Mikkelsen,
his
character,
because it's like I haven't really seen that before. Of like normally they're like, oh, we got to go give him intel about, but he was like, no, I've seen how all the mistakes he makes. Now I know how to win.
Right.
And so basically his goal was to go back and take over.
He's trying to be a super Hitler.
I thought there was going to be like some type of element that came back because we see him in the beginning of the movie in the train chase and he gets taken out. Like I thought he was like dead or something, and then he's back, and
I thought he was going to rip his face off, and he's going to be Red Skull.
I thought there's going to be something, but it was just like he just had a very like thin scar, and that was it. Which is, it's not terrible or anything, but I just thought like something else would come out of that, but nope.
Okay. What else, guys? What are some other highlights? Are there any other highlights you guys can think of? The music was so apparently. The action was meh.
It didn't. It didn't hit me in the feels like I thought it would.
How about the ending, the conclusion of it? How did that feel good?
I mean, we've touched on it.
Did he get married?
If this is the final Indiana Jones movie, it didn't feel like a final one. Like, it just feels like they just can't really let
I was
it go.
hoping he would have died. That's what I was kind of thinking.
Classic Jones.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, we know you want all good guys to die.
No, but or have it be more definitive that it was the end. But they still have this thing where he like grabs his hat and it's like yoing. It's like it just like Mick says, it didn't feel like it was the last
it was
one.
his hat, bro.
Yeah, but I wanted something more definitive as far as like.
I mean, because that's
off.
what they said, right? Like, this is the final one.
This is send off, and it just didn't.
It really didn't feel like that. I also wasn't.
He's done. He's super
100%.
old, bro.
Yeah, but I'm saying like the movie didn't make me feel that way.
Yeah.
So
I think that's also
I feel like
strategically.
From what I've heard, John Wick was a send off to the character, right?
Keanu Reeves is playing Indiana Jones.
Well, no, but what I'm saying is
crossover.
I feel like that kind of aspect. You don't have to kill him, but I feel like there's more of a send off. This one didn't have a real send off. Like, I know he reconciles with Marion, and that scene was really good, but again, it just didn't feel
it's
like.
Funny because I've seen a lot of comments online saying what a great send off to Indiana Jones, and then they posted a scene in a chapel where he like
that's
Crystal
from
Skull.
Crystal Skull.
that was Crystal Skull.
That's from Crystal Skull where Mutt grabs the Shia LaBeouf was going to be the new Indiana Jones.
That's right.
Yeah, so in this one,
That's
his
funny
wife that he marries in Kingdom of the Crystal Skull leaves because Mutt dies.
Right.
Basically, Lucasfilm likes ruining Harrison Ford and his character.
Yeah, like Han couldn't be with Leia.
I just want to say I was not a fan of that. I think mainly because we've seen it before with Han and Leia. We saw it in the last Indiana Jones movie that they didn't work out. To me, it was just a well that they went back to that was just, to me, just not interesting anymore.
So he keeps grabbing his hat. Is that how they're just? So last movie he grabbed his hat, and this movie
in
he
the
grabbed
last
his hat?
movie Mutt grabs his hat.
I'm talking more about Marion and like
that's the same well too. So at the end of this movie,
he
reconciles with.
I was connecting the two dots. I was like, wait, what?
He reconciles
he
with
grabs his hat
Marion.
too much. Okay,
That's what I was like, what is?
And then they go for the rest of the characters go out for ice cream, and then it's like shows them, and then it goes to his hat who's hanging outside, and he just grabs out of the window.
Okay, classic.
But no, like I don't think she needed to leave him just because their son died. I know there was more to it there than just him dying, but it was just like, okay, we've seen this before.
Yeah, I think it.
So he got friend zoned in the end.
No, she comes back.
Yeah, she's back in there.
All right.
Here's where I think it would have worked if there was a little more to it, because you don't really get that many scenes where he talks about it. He gets the one scene where he talks about his son. If he could go back in time, what he would tell him to keep him from dying. And he says, I would tell him what happens because he dies, right? That his mother was so grief stricken that she couldn't handle it, and our marriage fell apart. But then at the end of the movie, it seems like that wasn't the case at all. It was him, because she says, "Are you back?" Right?
Yeah.
So he's saying, "Oh, it was her," but the fact is, he's the one that's so grief stricken that he's not the same. And you can even see it, with all the colleagues that are at the party. His suit is wrinkly, like he
doesn't care.
He wakes up at the beginning of the scene. As he wakes up, he puts the whiskey in his coffee. Like he's the one.
Dang.
So that whole thing, and I'm like, they should have played with that a little more and had maybe some more flashbacks, or have conversations with him and Marion during that time.
Was it you that was telling me that she had a much bigger part originally?
I don't think so.
Oh, I can't remember. Maybe it was my dad that my dad went with us to the movie, but I heard like an earlier draft of the film, she had a much bigger part.
Yeah.
And I think that would have worked much better because she shows up at the very end, basically.
So that's a little weird to me. That I think there's a a universe where that movie has more of the emotional connections that then elevates this movie. But the problem, I think, is when you talking about Disney making movies, is they tend to go for the action beats over the emotional beats. I don't know why they're afraid to let you sit in heartbreak or emotional things. Like, it always has to be a joke or let's go quick to an action scene. And I just wish they would eliminate that kind of stuff and be okay with being in those, like, those are some crappy moments, but the emotional aspect is you get attached to those characters and you can relate to them. Sure. And then the payoff hits better. And I think that's what was missing, was the payoff didn't hit because we didn't have enough of those moments where we understand what's going on emotionally.
Yeah, which is odd because based off of James Mangold and watching Logan, you would think that the payoff would be, because that movie lets you sit in all sorts of terrible feelings.
Oh, yeah.
And then the payoff is good at the end, just with, seeing how, Logan goes through that movie. But yeah, so it's a little strange that, like, if you put those two movies side by side and a quote unquote send off for the characters, like, one definitely does it a lot better than the other one. But yeah.
Anything else you guys want to?
Okay, so I had this as my number one.
Oh, that's right. Most anticipated.
On my list.
If you could go back in time, would you change your list?
Would you put Dune 2 at the top of your list?
I guess we'll see when it comes
the one
out.
that hasn't come out yet. Maybe this one will be the one.
I definitely, at least right now, I would definitely still have it on my list. I think number one is too high.
You rated it like a 7.
Yeah.
Something like that, 7.2 or something like that. Yeah, so makes sense.
But I think I still enjoyed it more than I enjoyed season 3 of Mando. I got more enjoyment out of it, I think. And I didn't even have Mando on my list. So.
But let me tell you this, though. The fact that they used Harrison Ford DH, that just means Han Solo confirmed for the Ahsoka series. You heard it here first.
Yeah.
You heard it here first.
For sure.
Yeah.
At least, if it's not the Ahsoka series, it's definitely Dev Filoni's movie.
Dev Filoni.
Dev Filoni movie is going to have Han Solo in it, DH.
But it's literally just plucked out of the
Indiana Jones.
Dial of Destiny.
Exactly.
It's just him in a undercover Nazi uniform.
That's right.
Nice.
Well, that's going to do it for our Indiana Jones spoiler discussion. Let us know what you thought if you watched it. Do you agree with
whip
us?
stuff too.
That there wasn't any much whip stuff.
Not much whip stuff.
He whipped one guy.
He
whipped one
bracket.
guy the whole movie?
Yeah.
And he kind of whipped over heads, scares people. Yeah.
Never swung.
The other thing too is they did a good job of, like, every time he would run like 3 steps and then it would cut to, like,
And then he'd like come around a corner.
Bro, yeah.
and then he'd like
Let me jump in a vehicle.
He's old, bro.
So it actually it works. I mean, he still worked. But yeah, let us know what you thought. If you agree with us, if you disagree, we'd love to keep the conversation going. We're going to move on to Secret Invasion. We're all cut up. Episode 2. I'll let you guys talk about it. I've got some thoughts, but you know what my thoughts are going to be, because I'm
Negative Nancy.
But yeah, what do you guys think of episode 2 of Secret Invasion? And the spoilers. We're going to be talking spoilers. So
start on this side of the table and then move over this way.
Why don't you start?
Nope.
Yeah, let's start negative and go maybe positive. I don't even know.
Well,
because you guys didn't talk about the first episode, or you didn't. So.
I talked about the first one.
Oh, okay.
You want me to
the
start?
only one who was more negative on that.
You want me to start?
I was just saying Corey because he didn't see Indiana Jones. So
Yeah.
I feel bad.
Yeah, we haven't heard you talk.
Yeah.
The fans demand your voice.
Corey.
I mean, yeah. So, okay. So we had the big thing about this episode is, I guess, the stories being more fleshed out. And I was saying from the previous episode that needed to be done, because I felt very the story was very disjointed. And it felt like I just got plopped into it. And we talked about that's on purpose, and I get that. But for me, it just didn't work very well, because I need to be invested in the characters, right? I need to learn about these characters and actually want to root for them. I talked about that before. So this episode, so they did it a decent amount to kind of, you're starting to figure out who's on which side, how the dynamic is going on, and these big reveals of it's not just this little amount of numbers. It's actually 1 million of them, and they're already here. Like they're already integrated.
They're hanging out.
It's like, whoa, okay. And so I think some of these reveals that they're doing are very abrupt and like, it's like, we're in a train. Let's play a little game. You tell me something I don't know. And he's like, well, little detail.
Susie and I were doing it behind the churchyard.
Yeah, his little thing was way different than Talos or whatever his name is. Anyway, I think these reveals are kind of like out of the blue, and they're kind of like catching me off guard, not in like a good way, like, oh, dude, what a sick twist. It's just like, bang, okay, this is what's going on. Okay, there's a secret, like, circle of scroll leaders, and he's, you know, one of the guys, the leader of NATO, and all these other people. And it's like, okay, yeah, like I get all this, and so it just feels like it's moving really fast, and it also feels like, I guess, it still feels disjointed to me. It's like they're trying to catch you up, even though the story is like pressing forward, and they're like, oh yeah, remember that? Okay, yeah, we're doing this now. And I think there's an aspect that's maybe missing the mark for me, where it's like, you're supposed to think, whoa, who else is a scroll? Oh, is Rhodey, is he a scroll? And those things, I don't really, I'm not bought in. And I think that's a failure. Maybe it's just not my cup of tea, maybe. Yeah. But I think that's supposed to be a key point where we're supposed to discuss, who do you guys think
you can't trust anybody.
But for me, that feels really cheap. And it's like, well, that's stupid. Like, what the heck? Like, all right. Like, I guess at the end, you guys will just like say, oh, this is the guy. And it's like, okay. So I don't know. For me, it's just, yeah. There's not this like really good buildup. It just feels like everything's just kind of just being thrown at you out of nowhere. And I'm kind of unsuspecting. I'm like, oh, getting hit in the side of the face. Like, oh, okay. All right, we're doing this now. Okay. As far as acting, I like the bad guy, Merrick.
Yeah.
I like this character. I think we've seen this actor before. I like him in general. I don't know where.
I don't know what he's in.
But he looks familiar.
He's going to be in the Barbie movie. So
awesome.
Wouldn't know. I'm watching Oppenheimer.
Yeah.
After Barbie, right?
I thought the reveal at the end was good, or interesting, I guess, with Fury and his lady. That was interesting.
Does he know?
Yeah, he knows.
Yeah, he's got to know.
He knows.
I don't think so.
Why would she have changed?
It was just a habit.
It's
someone shows up.
I don't think he knows.
I don't think she knows either.
She knows. Okay.
She knows.
And yeah, I mean, I think it's okay. I think that's where I'm at. And anyways, what do you guys think? Josh, what do you think?
Yeah, I thought it was fine. I think the coolest thing about this episode is that Shooter McGavin from Billy Madison is, or Happy Gilmore is Skrull. So that was the biggest reveal.
Nice. Huge.
But yeah, I mean, I do like the villain, and I think exploring kind of like the reasoning behind, you know, what he's doing, which I feel like is probably a pretty generic. It feels very basic. Like, oh, you promised this, and you broke your promise, and now I'm going to
kill everyone now.
Typical revenge.
Yeah. But yeah, I thought he's a good actor, and yeah, just kind of seeing, like the Council of Skrulls and stuff like that was interesting. Yeah, the whole Rhodey thing hit me. The one thing about it is like, well, here's the thing: if they could make sense if they reveal him to be a Skrull, right? Are we supposed to assume that he's been a Skrull the whole time, or is it just like in this specific series, Rhodey is kidnapped and the Skrull is, you know what I mean?
The moment he got recast is the moment he became a Skrull.
That's what's gonna.
No one knows. Is Iron Man 2? I think
that would be brilliant. Terrence Howard comes back. He's like, "I'm the real Rhodey, guys. Didn't you guys notice?
How did no one call this out?" And he's like talking to the like us. Yeah, like, come on, guys.
So that's the one thing that it's like. I feel like they want us to question that, right? Like, oh, which one of them is actually a Skrull? And when they actually reveal it, I don't know whether or not that's going to be carry any weight, because then they're going to have to explain, like,
they won't.
What's the timeline? Was he always a Skrull in these situations? Yeah. You know what I mean? So that's the one thing that I'm like,
this. So we'll wait and see. If they do that, it'll be like he's the envoy, and they're like, actually, he's actually doing something else on another planet. And so the Skrull was like, yeah, I'm Rhodey, I'm the envoy for the U.S., and they're all working together. Like, if they do something like that, it's just going to be silly. I don't think they're going to go. I don't think he's a Skrull.
I don't think he is either.
Which, to me, that moment in the first episode just seemed so dumb to me, where he's like, I haven't been able to get in contact with Fury. He's talking to the president, so he's like, so that means they're AWOL. And to me, it's like,
that's weird. Yeah.
Really? Like, that's your first thing? Like,
President is a Skrull.
Have any of these Marvel characters learned anything from, like, Civil War or anything where it's like, where you're fighting against each other, and then while you're doing that, the bad guys, like, that to me just seems like, really? You can't figure out, like, hey, maybe Fury, maybe he's in trouble. Maybe something's going on. But your first thing is like, they're AWOL. Now they're against us. That to me was just like, really? Like,
well, and they revealed in here, like Fury was saying, oh, Talos, you had access to me. You just never called me.
Yeah.
So they could contact me. So what? And then they try to be like, well, yeah, but you were up in your spaceship, so we didn't call you because you weren't here. And it's like, okay, this just feels a little cheap.
Yeah, that.
So, we're nitpicking,
guys.
but anyway, we're nitpicking. Anyway,
No,
That's what it's about.
yeah.
I think what confuses me is going back to the first episode with them killing Ross. Was that actually Ross, or was that just a guy that was like pretending to be Ross?
I think it's someone just pretending to be Ross.
Okay.
And they actually kidnapped her, so they have her hostage. You're going to find out, or she's been a Skrull the whole time.
You're talking about.
You're talking about
Freeman.
Martin Freeman.
Yeah. Because I think if they were more clear on like what that actually meant, I think that would change the way.
I was thinking David Schwimmer.
I feel about the show, because to me it was just a little up in the air of like, was that supposed to be him? Am I supposed to now think that like, oh, anybody could be a Skrull now? Because I still don't feel that way.
Right.
And I think they're trying to make the viewer feel that way.
Yeah. At the end of the season, it'll say Agent Ross will return in
the real
America.
Ross. So maybe it's just me and I just, didn't pay attention enough or whatever, but it just didn't come across clear enough. Like, oh, I get what they're trying to do here. But other than that, like, as far as this episode goes, it's definitely intriguing me more.
They're laying the groundwork.
I think Emilia Clarke's character is pretty interesting. I think that it's developing her to have some level of doubt in what she's doing. Even though she had just
side eyes at her.
A lot of stuff.
Do you want me to ruin her as an actress forever?
No.
Okay.
Don't do that. Why would you do that to someone?
You know what? I'm going to say it's not going to ruin her. Go ahead.
Okay.
Say what you're going to say.
Look at her eyebrows.
What about
Yeah, she has amazing
She's
eyebrows.
expressive eyebrows.
No, you will. Whenever she talks, they move crazily. Like, that's the only thing you'll be able to watch now. Watch her eyebrows. Every time she's doing anything, like those things move.
Her acting career is over.
No, it's no. But I just
We've noticed this already.
someone told me
she's
that, and
unemployed
now every
now.
time I watch her in anything, I'm just staring at her eyebrows. I'm like, I'm mesmerized by them.
Did you ever
They're
watch
like,
The Banshees of Inisherin? So Colin Farrell in that movie, the whole time his eyebrows are like. So there's a meme out there that has a picture of him and then Emilia Clarke, and it says "Let them fight."
Yeah, nice.
So-
it's insane.
I think there was a clip actually on the Graham Norton show. Emilia Clarke was on Cara, I forget.
Nightly?
No.
Devil
Yeah.
Be alone.
And they had like a eyebrow dance off, and I mean she's got eyebrows.
Anyways, for me, I can't. Whenever
Did not
she's in the
ruin it.
scene, I'm always like,
It's not gonna ruin it.
I can't.
Nice try, Jonah.
I
think
can't.
her eyebrows should get an Oscar.
See, I just looked at her eyebrows in Game of Thrones because it didn't match, Brunette.
Oh, because they were
blonde
darker.
hair. Yeah.
Yeah. Although blonde eyebrows would
I
be
think
weird.
that's why they got
They
rid
tried
of
it
the
with
eyebrows.
Thor and it didn't work. Weird.
That's actually the secret invasion.
Maybe that was the
Her
Skrull
eyebrows
Thor.
are invading.
Skrull Thor has blonde eyebrows. Anyway, about this episode,
You figured it out.
like I said last week, I'm still intrigued, but I've been burned, and so I'm being cautious about the show. But there's nothing in it that I'm like, oh, that's terrible and this is stupid. Like, I think the, oh, no, not the prime minister. What's the woman's name? The interrogator.
MI6.
Yeah, MI6 chick. She seems kind of intimidating and scary. Chops a finger off. That was pretty gruesome.
That's cool.
So, yeah. We'll see. I think next episode will really, for me, like, determine how I'm feeling about the show. It's just so, like, it's early still, even though they've showed us a lot. I just don't really know how I feel about the show yet.
Yeah, and there are 6 episodes.
Yeah.
So it'll be the halfway.
And they're long episodes.
Yeah.
I mean, they're like an hour.
Yeah, I guess for me, the thing that I struggle with the most is I don't buy the Nick Fury is like washed up and old. Like they're trying to sell me this whole thing. Like everyone's like, you've lost a step. Like every conversation he has with everybody is like,
you used to be 3 steps ahead. Now you're 3 steps
like
behind.
he's playing chess with the agent, and she's like, yeah, you're not good enough anymore. The MI6 lady's like, yeah, you suck now. Like, and everybody's kind of having that conversation with him. Rhodey has that conversation with him where I'm like, I get it. Like everyone's gonna question him, and even the bad guy's like, I could have killed him, but I let him live, like whatever. And that's gonna come back where he's gonna save the day, of course. But to me, I'm just not buying it, because to me, how they've set up Nick Fury throughout all the movies is that he's very competent. He gets the Avengers together, like this whole thing, and then all of a sudden it's like, ever since the blip, you've been different. So to me, it's like, I just feel like they're just telling me that, and I'm not buying into it. So that's the one thing that I'm kind of like, okay. And the other thing too is like, I don't understand why. It goes back to even the aspect of like learning from your mistakes, but even the train conversation, he's like, get off my train kind of thing. It's like, you realize that everybody is everybody's against you. Like no one wants to be with you, and the only ally you have is like, get off my train. Like this whole like, let's fight, so then at the end we can reunite and do this thing. It's just a played trope at this point. So to me, it's like it's not convincing to me in the story.
I thought you were going to bring up the point of, and I think we talked about this even before the series came out, was in this episode he kind of addresses it where he's firing him or whatever, and he's like, I'm the only one who can fight this battle. Or he's like, you're saying you're the only one who can fight this battle or whatever. Mm-hmm. And it's like, it's such a weird dynamic that they're kind of like forcing on the narrative where it's like, Fury's got to be the hero in this story. And it's like, that's the part I don't buy into, where I'm like, yo, if you really claimed for this to be this crazy of an invasion, and they could get a hold of like nuclear, codes, and they could, I mean, they're already ruling NATO and all these big countries. Like, if it's really that crazy, we're really not just calling up a few.
Well, and they keep mentioning the Avengers, right? They keep being like, well, the Avengers, like, oh, I got the event, so it's that whole aspect of like, shouldn't they be the first on the line? Like, instead of sending Rhodey to this thing, shouldn't you be like, well, maybe the Avengers should step in?
Right. And they addressed that where he's working for the White House, the United States' interest. So yeah, it's a little iffy on at least as far as like, where I'm sold on it, but I'm open to what they do with it for sure.
Yeah. It does though really feel like we missed a movie or a show with Fury before this, because I think the last time we see him, he's like fine.
Well, and then
in Saber, and I think Far From Home.
How does this fit in with the trailer for the Marvels?
I don't know,
because he's on Saber, and I don't think he has a beard.
Nope.
And he's just kind of like goofing off, like, "Hey."
Oh, so the Marvels is before this then?
Maybe,
unless he goes,
he's up. A scroll up there now. They sent a scroll
or
up there.
Or if he goes back up after this, if he concludes this.
Yeah, so it's just kind of it's weird when everything's connected like that, because then you're like, and then they just say present day, so you're like, present day,
like so right now.
Dude, I will freak
whenever
out.
You're watching it. It's right then.
Dude, mark my words. If by the end of this, on the last episode, he like actually isn't the one who beats them, and it's like literally Miss Marvel, I'll freak out. Or like Carol Danvers, like I'll freak. I'll be like, seriously, all of this for that? But I doubt that'll happen. But Yeah. So far, what are you guys thinking? What's your guys' feeling so far? Like, are you entertained when you watch it? Are you being entertained?
I think I'm more intrigued than entertained.
Okay, you're being intrigued.
Yeah.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
I mean, I guess it's not a bad thing because I'm still watching it.
So
right. It's not
so
like
it's on
I'm
the positive
bored out of
side.
my mind. Like, oh, this is dumb. Like,
Right.
Yeah.
there's interesting storylines that I am curious to see what the resolution is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Whether or not they deliver on that, remains to be seen. But yeah, for me, it's been like,
Are you invested in any characters so far?
I really like Talos so far.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's the one, him and his daughter's story, I think, is the one that sticks out the most.
Okay.
would
Nick
agree.
Fury, I just don't really like Samuel Jackson anyway. I'm not a huge fan. So like when he's like, have you lost your reptilian mind? I'm like, okay.
Okay, there were some
that's a little
pretty
Sam Jackson.
There were some pretty
That's just
cheesy
Sam
lines.
Jackson.
Yeah.
Ad-libbing there.
That was kind of a low blow. He didn't need to say that.
Yeah.
Messed up.
Can I give you real quick?
And you gotta ruin Samuel Jackson?
No, my least
Look at his eyebrows.
my least favorite part of the season, and whatever.
All 2
I know what they're trying to do.
ahead.
But the conversation between him and Rhodey, to me,
Okay, well, let me just bring this up. What if he is intentionally firing him so he can do his own
no,
thing
but
off
it's not
the grid?
that. What drove me crazy is there hasn't really been throughout the movies of the Marvel thing. Like Fury's never had this chip on his shoulder, and all of a sudden in this conversation, he talks about, well, how people like us, how did we get in these positions? It took us forever, like as a brother, right? So they're introducing this race aspect to it, where that whole conversation is about that. And to me, it was like, why are you bringing, like, I know you're trying to do this whole, because they are playing with this whole like scrolls or a different race and they're here, but now they're playing this whole thing that was never a thing when Nick Fury shows up in Iron Man and tries to recruit them. It's not this whole thing was like, why, as a black person, it was hard for me to get into this position. And now all of a sudden they're throwing it in there and Rhodey's doing it too and they're going back and forth with it. It just seemed really out of place for the characters, especially when you've had African-American characters in this universe that have prominent roles. And it just seemed weird to me. And that all of a sudden was like Nick Fury's big thing. His whole point of this thing was like,
Yeah.
we worked hard. People like us don't get in positions like this. Like that to me was like, it was weird because it just felt like you're bringing in like real world things into this comic book world, but it never was a thing that Nick Fury was about in the movies before. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I get what
So
you're
it just
saying.
felt
it was emphasized.
fabricated.
It was emphasized in this conversation for sure.
Which would make me think every single scroll would choose to be a white person because they get right. If that's the whole thing,
What?
if that's the whole thing.
Oh,
Okay.
Right? They're saying like it's hard for people of color to get in high positions. So
I mean,
every
all the
scroll-
people at the council, none of them were African American.
Yeah, but there was an Indian lady and and
They don't
the
look like-
main
they don't
villain
look
is
like
African
Samuel
American.
Jackson.
I'm just saying. It just seems out of like it's coming out of nowhere, and I
well,
know
Rhodey's a scroll. You're wrong, right?
and so I just think to me it's like that because Samuel L. Jackson, even in episode 1 or 2, that's not even a thing, and all of a sudden with Rhodey, it's like that whole conversation was geared in that sense. So it just felt weird. It felt out of place.
I mean, I will say that there have been dynamics. I don't know the quote or the movie, but I'm sure there's been interactions between like Falcon and like Rhodey, like being homies in that way. Like I'm sure there's been,
I mean,
you know what I mean? Like there's a connection there, and I think they've played that before. I think they've done.
Yeah, I think they
I
brought.
don't think it's like 100% out of the way.
It just
but-
seemed heavy-handed
Sure.
to me in that conversation.
Okay. Yeah, sure. I mean, it was emphasized for sure during that.
Yeah,
so.
I just don't know in what situation in any of the other movies would Nick Fury have to bring it up.
That's
you know
true.
what I mean? But that's
true,
what I'm.
'cause that's the only time he's been
He's
fired.
like my boss, just saying stuff about his boss.
But
like
that's what
randomly
I'm-
in Iron Man. It's like it's different in a show when you have time to explore more stuff. You know what I mean? I do get what you're saying though.
It just seems weird though because like he's one of the most powerful people in the world. Like, dude, you got the Avengers together. And then
But it wasn't easy.
then all of a sudden it's like, man, like people like us. I'm like, what do you mean? Captain America's one of you. So,
Well,
and he's America. Captain of America.
well, not anymore. So
No, he is. Isn't Mackie Captain America now?
Yeah.
in this, oh, sorry, I thought you were talking about the. Okay,
No.
gotcha.
That's in the past, yo.
Thought you were talking about the old guy.
But anyways, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. I mean, that's episode 2. We've got one more, then we're halfway. I actually enjoy the length of them. It's actually not bad. Usually I'm the first guy to be like, oh, this dragged on so much. Like I'm the first guy to point that out, and that's fine.
There's enough
the story's
going on.
moving.
There's
the
enough
scenes
going
are
on that it
changing
works.
enough. And yeah, the pacing's fine. So, yeah, hey, I'm ready to be wowed, you know? But
And that comes out on Wednesdays, right? So
yeah, I've been watching them on like Saturday, Sundays. But yeah, it's been fun. It's good.
yeah, let us know what you thought of what you think of Secret Invasion.
Yeah.
We're going to move along. Did we want to talk about just some random news stuff? Superman.
We got some miscellaneous
The
news.
new James Gunn Superman was cast, as well as Lois. I can't remember his name. Corn Sweet or something like
David Cornsweat.
that.
Corn Sweat.
Sweet.
That's right.
I prefer Corn
Corn
Sweet.
Sweat.
Corn Sweat or something like that.
Wow. Corn
I
Sweat.
think
him
it's Corn
because-
Svet.
Please be
Because
Corn
Kansas
Sweat.
and farms.
Corn.
So they're like, they have
Shucking
got
corn
a corn
sweat.
in his name.
And he's farming. He's sweating.
No, that's right. David Cornsweat.
That's awesome,
Sweat.
dude. That's awesome.
I haven't
Wait,
seen
so
him in
that's
anything.
Superman?
That's
That's
Yeah.
his name? Okay.
Yeah,
I
what's
saw
he been
pictures
in?
of him.
and then Rachel Brosnan.
She's
The
the
Lois
marvelous Miss Maisel, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so I haven't seen
Pierce
anything.
that's a good-
Brosnan's
Daughter. Yeah.
I haven't seen any movies he's in, but I did look up some clips, and I think he could, I mean, how many times have we got casting for specifically comic book movies, and you just hear people just immediately trash it and say they'll do bad, and then
Heath Ledger.
more often than not, it's pretty good. I think that the casting is fine. Yes, it sucks that Cavill's not Superman anymore, but I think the guy looks like Superman. He sounds like Superman. The stuff that I saw, like I could definitely see him pulling off a Clark Kent. So I'm optimistic. I'm hopeful. I know it's probably not going to be easy for him, like hearing all the Snyder fans out there.
Hey, it's not just Snyder
Well, I mean,
fans.
he's
it's a lot
gonna
of
be
Henry Cavill
he's
fans
gonna
that
be
aren't Snyder.
directly compared, and that's unavoidable.
He,
he's
he-
already
I mean,
part
he
of it.
looks.
They're
He
already
looks like
calling him Walmart Henry Cavill. That's what they're calling him.
Who's calling him that?
You
The
called him
internet.
that.
The internet.
You called him
It was trending on Twitter when he was announced. They said Walmart Henry Cavill or dollar
say
store
this,
Henry
though.
Cavill.
I did see
Dollar Tree.
he looks similar to Henry Cavill.
Yeah,
He looks
that's
like
why
a cross between
that's why
like
they're
Henry
named.
Cavill and like Tom Welling. Which, you know what? They look like Superman. So there you go.
Yeah, but the thing with because I mean, even if you look at pictures of Henry Cavill when he is in the Christopher Reeve suit, you're like, that dude's skinny and doesn't look like Superman, and he bulked up. You know what I mean? So it's like an unfair
There's also padding in the
comparison
suit,
to be
like-
like,
Okay, valid point.
Yeah.
it's an
He's
unfair
got room
comparison
to
to
grow,
be
literally.
Yeah, exactly.
Valid point, Josh.
Thank you. Take that, internet. I don't know why I'm
take
defending
that.
David Cornsweat. I haven't
I
seen a
don't know.
single
What
thing.
a name, dude. What a
I haven't seen
name.
a single movie. he's
I
in.
think whatever he does, he looks like someone that could play Superman.
Yeah.
I think the problem for me is not him. The problem is the person writing the movie. It's like James Gunn is writing Superman. So that's where I can't get super excited for this movie, just because I'm not a big fan of James Gunn. And I know there's a lot of people that are super excited for what James Gunn is going to do. But a lot of the things that I'm seeing, even that James Gunn is saying, I'm like, that's Man of Steel. Like that, the thing that's driving me nuts is there's people that are out there being like, oh, I can't wait for them to do this. Like there's some guy that's like, he's got I can't remember what I think it's like Superman movies or whatever. Like he's got a huge, like he does all stuff, Superman stuff, but he hates Man of Steel. And he posts this picture. He posts this picture of a comic, And he's like, oh, I hope James Gunn does this scene in his movie. And it's basically Clark running away through the cornfields, and Pa Kent is chasing after him. And he, like the comics, and his dad, Pa Kent, says, I should have never showed you the ship, right? And the kid's like, well, he says something like, can I just be your son? And Pa Kent says, you are my son, right? Like that whole thing. And I'm like, that scene is exactly in Man of Steel. What are you guys talking about?
Well,
But there's this whole thing, like that's one of the best scenes in Man of Steel. So to me, there's this whole narrative of like, oh, now we're going to get how Superman was intended to be. And I'm like, all the stuff you're asking for are stuff that was in Man of Steel. So it's just that cool dynamic of things. Or when James Gunn announces, oh, it's going to be a story about Superman dealing with being a child from Krypton and a kid from Kansas, and how he has to deal with the aspect of having two fathers and two. I was like, that's Man of Steel.
So it's going to be a Superman story, is what you're saying.
But
That's Superman.
But to be like, when you could have, to pretend like we're going to get something that we've never seen before is like, no, because that's why they got rid of Cavill, because it was like, no, we're going to do something we've never seen before. We need a younger Superman. It's like, you picked a guy that looks like Henry Cavill. So, I mean, why
Henry
not do Man
Cavill
of
looks
Steel
like
too?
Superman. I mean, I totally get what you're saying, but at the same time, like, why wouldn't you pick someone that looks like Henry Cavill? Henry Cavill looks like
Because you fired
Superman.
Henry. Why did you not use Henry Cavill?
They don't want to use him. I don't know.
I'm saying.
I didn't make the choice, but like
Okay, that's him, right?
Yeah.
showing a picture of David Corn Sweat.
So the main character from that '70s show looks like him.
Topher Grace.
Yeah.
Topher Grace?
Yeah.
So he's not only is he a dollar store Henry Cavill,
He's a dollar store
Dollar
Venom.
Tree Topher Grace. Wow. Fantastic job, James Gunn.
Promise.
But I mean, there's definitely two sides to like his performance. It'll be the writing, which will be all on James Gunn, but then he could be like a great Superman. Like, for instance, Superman Returns, not a great movie. Writing wasn't that great. I think Brandon Routh, I never know how
I
Uh,
think
to
it's
say it.
Ralph.
Corn Sweat.
I think he was a great Superman. He did the best he could have done. Yes, he was like basically a Christopher Reeve Superman, but I think he did a great job. So
Walmart Christopher Reeve is what we call him.
time will tell. Time will tell for sure how the movie will turn out. But I'm hopeful. I want a Superman movie to do well. Yes, I would still love to have seen Henry Cavill do Man of Steel 2 and keep doing his stuff, but like I want to be optimistic about this.
I think everyone should do a hot take on this situation to spice it up a little bit.
A hot take on this situation?
Just on this situation with the old guard, the new guard, everything about the Superman.
I don't see why we need a new Superman.
Boom, hot take. I'll say I don't think Superman is that hard to do in general. I think he's pretty easy to do. Jonah, well, you're full of hot takes.
I hope the Superman failed.
Yeah.
Yes, we can tell.
not
And
much
Mick,
of a hard
hot take.
I hope it's amazing.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. As far as the cast, like what I have liked to keep seeing Henry Cavill as Superman, yes,
Sure.
but that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like at this
Oh,
point,
is it not?
it's not going to happen. He's doing Warhammer.
Yep.
So at this point, it's like, why am I going to hold that against this random dude that got cast as Superman? I'm like, you're not Henry Cavill. It's like, no, Henry Cavill's gone. It's a new Superman. So like, hopefully he does well. I agree. Like the whole James Gunn stuff. It's like, I'm not a huge fan of James Gunn or his writing. So
Yeah.
that's a huge question mark about how the movie is. But like, as far as the casting goes, I'm like, sure, yeah, he looks like Superman. Well, so hopefully he does a good job.
Exactly.
So yeah, I can't fault him for not being Henry Cavill because Henry Cavill's not Superman anymore.
Yeah. If anything, it's it's a high likelihood of this movie and this Superman and this writing is going to make Henry Cavill's Superman look a lot better, based on James Gunn's track record with how he treats superheroes. So
And you're wrong.
We'll
at one thing. You said you can't fault him for not being Henry Cavill. Well, my wife faults me for not being Henry Cavill. So how's that not fair?
That's your wife's fault.
That's crazy. That's some unrealistic
Why are you
expectations.
not Henry Cavill? Every time we watch The Witcher.
Yeah.
Well, you don't have to worry about that next season. So
Yeah. Why don't you look like
won't
Liam
watch The
Hemsworth?
Witcher. I don't think I'm watching The Witcher after this season.
do you just refuse to watch anything that doesn't have Henry Cavill in it?
No, but the reason he's leaving The Witcher is because the people writing are going away from
Source material.
So to me, it's like
Yes,
you
they
had someone who was super into the lore and knew what, like, wanted a direction for it, and he's leaving because you don't want to follow that. To me, it's like,
It's so funny,
and that's
too.
death sentence.
It's funny, too, because then you hear people, oh, well, I heard Henry Cavill's hard to work with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, no, dude. He's just more into the things than you guys are. You guys don't know what you guys are talking about.
And he's the nicest dude.
He's the
ever.
nicest
Like, in
dude.
every
Yeah.
movie, all the
He's so
directors
cool.
talk about how, like, he's awesome. Like,
best.
all his like co-stars, like, all the stuff that's coming from that is coming from people that are.
When I heard that, I was like, get out of here. No one believes you.
And name one other person that could do a better bicep reload than he can. Nobody.
No one.
We'll be waiting here for a long time.
Well, let's move on.
Okay,
You had
I've got
some-
one
you
little
had
fun thing. I hope you guys didn't hear about it, just so I can lay it on you guys.
I probably heard it. About
You
it.
probably did. You probably did.
Blue Angel told him.
So they dropped this today, a trailer for an anime. Why would I bring up anime in this show? You guys aren't into anime.
Mega Man anime.
You guys aren't into anime.
I'm not.
Let me throw this at you, though. Suicide Squad.
Oh, I did see that.
Specifically,
The game.
Harley Quinn and the Joker. That's all we saw in the trailer. Mm-hmm. An anime with them. It's DC's Suicide Squad. Isekai. Do you know what isekai is, guys? Let me tell you. It's Japanese for probably reincarnation or something like that. Anyway, it's not reincarnation. It's an isekai is when an anime character in like the real world gets teleported to a different world. Okay? So this is where it gets interesting, boys. So it's an anime. So Japanese anime of these characters, right? They're just wreaking havoc on the, Gotham City or whatever. Somehow they're going to be teleported to a different world. A fantasy world.
It's like when Batman went into they did the
Ninja.
Batman Ninja.
Wasn't there also a crossover with DC and Ruby?
Was there?
I think so, yeah. It was like a younger DC characters with Ruby.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
If that's true.
I'm pretty sure. Pretty sure.
I think you're lying.
That's crazy.
I never lied.
never saw
That's,
it.
that's Rooster Teeth, which is interesting. But
Yeah.
anyway, I was just gonna say, check it out. Just look at the trailer and tell me what you guys think, because I would have never guessed that a DC comic story would be into an anime, let alone an isekai, where it's these characters are being teleported into a fantasy. We're talking high fantasy, medieval, dragons, armor, wars, villages. What the heck? It's so off the wall. I was just
And
like,
just Joker and Harley Quinn. That's weird.
is it though? I'm not sure if that is. I haven't confirmed that.
Oh, okay.
Because it's called Suicide Squad
Right.
for a reason, and it said DC's Suicide Squad Isekai. So, it is so off the wall that I was just like, no way this is a thing. I thought it was like a joke. Then I watched it and I was like, this is really good drawing and the art's really good. And I was like, you know what? Anime might be just where they belong because they are crazy and it might just fit. Anyway,
I'll be curious to see the art style, because it is kind of weird.
they redraw the Joker to be more anime.
Okay,
And same with her. She's more ooh kind of more.
because they kind of do that. They kind of do
Yeah,
that
right.
with like Batman Ninja. It's kind of the same. Like when he gets transported, like then they have like the Jokers are drawn a certain way.
Batman Ninja's more like not shonen, shogun,
Yeah.
samurai.
Yeah, but it's
Fifth Age
weird
kind of stuff.
It's weird to me that they're kind of using
This is
same characters a little bit. Does that make sense?
Same
Because like
characters?
because the Joker's in that one,
So is Harley
and
Quinn.
Harley Quinn's in that one. So
I
to
mean, there's
me,
only so many characters,
right?
in
But to
DC.
me, it's kind of interesting that they're gonna, not that they're going back to that same well, but it's kind of in a similar vein to be, like
it's gonna be very different.
so it's kind of
different.
interesting to me. But I'll have to
It's
see
gonna
the
be
trailer.
very different. Isekais are a whole different beast. because I actually don't remember with the Batman. Did he get teleported there?
Yes, they go in the past.
Okay.
They like
So that's
he's
totally different than
he's
what I'm
doing
talking
something with the villains,
Yeah.
and they all get
Yeah, that's
transported back to like the.
That's him just being placed in history. This is being placed in a totally different realm of existence, a total parallel universe where there's dragons and all sorts of crazy stuff. Anyway, this is very crazy. It's super off the wall. Check it out. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, because I'm interested to see. I'm definitely going to watch it. I'm just intrigued.
James Gunn writing it?
Gosh, I hope. No. It's a studio. I wonder where it's going to be too, because DC, is it Paramount Plus or who's doing DC?
No, they do
stuff?
Max.
Max.
But they normally release
So it
their
might be on
they
Max.
normally release their stuff like on video, so they're straight to video release, like all
Yeah,
their
yeah,
animation stuff.
Yeah.
and then after
that's
a
everything.
couple months, then they'll be on Max.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
Yeah, so they don't usually go to streaming day.
Well, it's just interesting because it's an anime, so I don't know if it's going to be hosted on an anime website or if it's going to be on Max or wherever. But we'll see. Who knows?
Cool. Yeah,
Anyway, I just thought
I'll
it was
check out that video.
crazy. You guys got to check it out because it is like, what the heck?
Do you know when the release date is?
Nope. And I've got a call on this one. I think it's going to be decent. I think it's going to be better than the last Suicide Squad that we watched.
Well,
That's
I
not
mean,
I can guarantee it.
well, DC. I mean, their animation stuff, that like the videos, the movies they release in animation, they're usually pretty good. Like they've
It's
always
not
done
DC.
some good
It's an
stuff.
actual Japanese anime.
But they have
studio.
to work with
Yeah, they'll write
DC.
it probably. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm saying
Or
like
they'll code
that kind of stuff. They have a good track record of
Yeah, we'll see.
doing their.
They very rarely have dropped the ball with their animated movies.
Which is hilarious. But yeah, I think that there's a lot more leeway when you go to animation. So a lot of the character things that they do where it's just so over the top and in some cases can be borderline annoying, Harley Quinn.
Work.
It can work a lot more.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've got a feeling it might be good. But yeah, that's all I wanted to mention.
Nice.
Suicide Squad, the isekai. What a crazy thing.
That's weird. That I don't know what the fixation is with the Suicide Squad though. I feel
Harley
like
Quinn is very popular.
yeah, I feel like that's even when we wanted a Superman game and they're like, we're getting the Suicide Squad game. I was like, really? Suicide Squad? So it's weird that's kind of the movies, the
It
video
really
games,
was like after that. I mean,
the
they
Harley
were around.
Quinn cartoon show. Like it's a weird.
But yeah, after that 2016 movie, it was just like they're everywhere.
Yeah. Because they also did like 2 animated movies, like Suicide Squad, Escape from Arkham, and then Suicide Squad, another.
Yeah.
So it's, I don't know. I guess there's a
Someone's watching.
big fandom.
I mean, Batman wouldn't fit in this world. Like he's too serious. So Joker and Harley Quinn are going to fit a lot better. So, yeah.
Do you know who the cast is?
Nope. No idea.
Will you watch that?
But I would recommend watching that in Japanese
yeah.
with subtitles. Yes, because it's going to translate way better. Yeah. But what else did you guys
I think that was it.
chat about? Nothing else?
The Dune trailer dropped, but Mick didn't see it. He doesn't want to be spoiled.
Oh, dude.
It was
I
just
heard
more
from-
of the same.
I heard from Josh that there was just more spoiler stuff.
I mean,
in
it was like a 3-minute trailer, and they basically like showed you. I mean, not spoilers, but
Right.
it's like basically like let me just lay
plot.
out the whole
a lot
movie.
of sand
Plot stuff.
You know, there's a lot of worm riding, and you know.
Yeah,
Dude, spoiler, bro.
I didn't need to know that.
and Christopher Walken, it's in it.
I got a fever. You know, more shots of Zendaya just kind of looking into the sand and
Yeah.
blue eyes and
Mm-hmm.
you know.
But yeah, next week,
Saying
hopefully,
Paul Atreides.
yeah, Josh will hopefully have his new Wormwood table.
Hopefully next week.
Hopefully. They're
Supposed to get delivered on Friday, and
Yeah.
UPS is slacking. I'm about to write a strongly worded letter towards them.
So that'll be cool.
Yeah, and then next week, Mission Impossible. Well, no, it'll be the week after that. Mission
It's week
Impossible,
after.
Yeah,
and then the week after
or
that,
12.
Oppenheimer
Oppenheimer.
comes out the 11th, which I'm actually thinking of going on Tuesday because it comes out Tuesday. $6 movie
out
tickets.
Tuesday.
Yeah,
Really?
at Regal.
I thought you were going to watch that in IMAX.
Not Mission Impossible.
Oh,
Shot in
I thought you were talking
No, I'm
about
talking about
Oppenheimer.
Mission Impossible. Comes out
Oh, I thought you were talking
on
about
Tuesday.
Okay, gotcha.
and there's
I was tracking Oppenheimer.
$6 tickets. So I might go on a Tuesday if you guys want to go. And then Oppenheimer. I want to buy my ticket for Thursday. So if you guys are going to go, you guys got to let me know so we can.
Are we doing Barbie
coordinate.
first or after?
Huh?
Barbie first?
No,
after?
no, we're never doing Barbie.
What?
I'm going to attach a Barbie.
This podcast
firecrackers
is
to
going to get
Barbie.
split.
Okay.
The Barbie
Corey
Oppenheimer.
How about this? Corey and I will go watch Oppenheimer. You guys watch Barbie, and then we'll talk.
Okay.
You guys can't watch Oppenheimer, though.
Okay.
Only Barbie.
Well, you can't watch Barbie.
Yeah.
You got
Sweet
it.
deal.
You got it, Chimp.
You guys
Come
heard
on,
it?
Barbie. Let's go party.
Yeah, that's right.
Best line of that movie.
I think that's it for the episode this week. Make sure you follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. We appreciate you guys listening. We will be back next week with more Nerd Age Podcast, and see you all later.
See you.
Bye.